Welcome to One of Those, the show that explores the art of sneaker culture. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. Today's episode, my man Chuck Keys is back again. He's a creative consultant and a manager. He's worked with brands like Under Armour, Nike. He's worked with all sorts of artists. He's got a clothing line. He does it all. He joins me to talk about how sneaker culture has sort of moved on from working with athletes to working with creators. It's sort of a part two to my episode with Mike Sykes. But as always with my man Chuck, and when I get to talking to friends, we talk about more. We talked about the culture. We talked about creating moments. We talked about so much, man. In fact, you know what it is. I'm not going to waste time. Let's jump right to it, my man Chuck Keys. Chuck, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. You were on the very first episode of the original What Are Those web show. Now you're on the podcast. I'm happy to talk to you, man, because you are an expert when it comes to branding and working with artists and really getting getting their whole package together, right? I had my man Mike Sykes on a few weeks ago. We talked about how NBA and NBA stars, what NBA stars are still moving the needle when it comes to sneakers, right? And we talked about and we talked about how there's some who, there aren't many left, that is really the artists and the designers. I really want to talk to you about why that is, right? Why do you think that artists like Yeezy and even Pusha and Rihanna and people like this are the ones that's really moving sneakers, and their signature sneakers seem to mean more than say Giannis or LeBron?
It basically goes through I would say social media. So think about it. You learn more about Rihanna than you ever will LeBron or Giannis. They're not going to give you but only a piece of their life, the corporate side of their life. Mm-hmm. People are buying into these people because they can actually see them move. They can see their life. They can see them grow. The good, the bad, the controversy, whatever it may be. That's what's tying people to these brands, because everyone is attached to their phone right now. As you know, in the NBA, it's only so much you can really give the world because you lose endorsements. On the other end, these artists are flourishing from that. So you got to think about it. Bad pub for LeBron is great pub for Kanye. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Like, Kanye can be more free because we expect that from Kanye. Yeah. LeBron, we know the version of LeBron that we know. We never see LeBron really mad. He has his things he'll say on Twitter, but it's never a visual. You see LeBron cursing someone out, or you can tell from some of his posts what he doesn't like or what he doesn't, agree with, but it's controlled. It's a controlled environment that you can only assume what LeBron really thinks. He never goes too far left. He never goes too far right. And with the culture, people want to be able to touch it. Like, everyone loves Rihanna because you don't know what Rihanna is going to do. Women love Rihanna. They embrace Rihanna. That's their alter ego. Some women, that's them. If they could be who they wanted to be, essentially, I would have done what Rihanna would have done. And it might not be, it might be a totally different situation, but people related to, everyone now is an entrepreneur. Everyone now is a creative. What does Kanye represent?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it gives you a piece like, wow, I can be a part of that. And that's why it's taking over.
Yo, that's so interesting because you're right? Like I said with Mike, back in the day, it was, hey, I want to fly like Mike Jordan, I want to defend like Peyton, now it's, I want to move like Push, right? I want to be fly like Yeezy. Like you said, if you're a woman, I want to be fly like Riri or be fabulous like Beyonce or whoever the brand. And it's not about whether these brands are selling. You can say what you want about like Ivy Park, right, and how it moves or what have you, or Rihanna's collaborations with I think it's like Puma she's dealing with now, right? But what I think is interesting is we talk about storytelling. I think we've moved past the point of saying sneakers about athletics for the sneakerhead and for the art collector, right? It's not just about athletics. It's about lifestyle and who's, like you say, whose lifestyle do I relate to more? But I want to run something by you, bro, because it's not just the megastar that's getting the sneaker deal anymore. Rich Paul got a sneaker deal from New Balance, right? Like he had a sneaker, like this is LeBron's manager, right? This is a guy.
But think about it though. Think about it, Adam. It makes sense. The shoe, look at the aesthetic of the shoe. Look who it's catering to. He is catering to an older audience. Most people who wanted that shoe are older entrepreneurs, business-like, who want to feel like they have. It's like I gave the older sneakerhead a shoe that they don't have to compete with the younger. You understand what I'm saying?
I do understand.
Because you're not going to see a lot of 18, 19-year-olds rocking Rich Paul's shoe.
Right.
You got to look at, when these brands decide to pick people, they look at target demographic. They look at what people make, and then they figure out how does it relate to someone else. Rich Paul relates to a certain niche that they want to tap into. Think about the whole New Balance craze. Everyone loves New Balance now. New Balance is the new it. New Balance had a better year, I think, than anybody this year. Everyone's using the silhouette. You and I know people laughed at us. I went to school in New York. They laughed at my New Balance. They laughed at my phone posits.
Yeah.
The same guys who are claiming that they started something, I know we did, because none of these places were wearing them.
Yeah.
But New Balance had they're targeting a target niche. It's like, okay, Rich Paul is essentially the cool, successful dad. And he's black.
Yeah, and they marketed the sneaker. Yeah, and they marketed the sneaker that way, as you mentioned. So that brings on the next question is that is sneaker culture just growing up? Like you and I, we don't look at athletes and go, man, I wish I could, do what LeBron does. I'm older than LeBron James, right? I'm older than, honestly, a lot of those athletes that's on the court right now, especially, most of the NBA guys, NFL guys. Some of them, I could legit be their father. I'm old enough I'm at that point, but I am a sneakerhead. I'm still interested in fashion. I'm still interested in sneaker culture. So is it that the culture is growing, and that's why a guy like Rich Paul and others, and we're more concerned with like the designer behind the sneaker as opposed to the face in front of the sneaker or the person wearing the sneaker?
You're going to hate my answer to this because I never thought I would ever say this ever. Loving sneakers. I think it's dying because it became too corporate. And what I mean by that is the days we used to have to go to the store to get our shoes. You had to stand in line, whether rain, sleet, snow, and go actually pick your shoes up. If you notice now, everything is, if you have a bot, you're a sneakerhead. That's not sneaker culture. You know what I mean? We grew up watching people wear certain shoes, and it wasn't always the athlete. It was the guy you saw on the street. Wow, I remember that. It's like when the first penny phones came out. Only dudes I knew had them. I was in high school. They was either getting money illegally or that first shoe was $200. My mom was like, "You're not getting that. We're not doing that." You know what I mean? So the first one, until you got to a certain age, now after a while, that's regular for a sneaker now. But at the time, that $200 mark was unheard of, and it wasn't going on sale. So in saying that, you got to look at things like, I don't like the way the game is going because it's taking away from the inner city. And what I mean by that is, I love that it's helping people that aren't close to these stores because it allows them to get a chance to get sneakers. I agree. It should be open to the world. But the culture started in inner cities, and now they are making a lot of money off of our culture. And we don't have the shoes anymore. Most of the kids you see now, unless you have a plug who are really into sneakers, they can't even get the things that they want. Unless you're paying $700, $800. I don't know. I think it's dying, but financially it's not, because in marketing, no one cares that it's dying as long as the trend of money is going up. They don't care about the culture part. That's kind of like where we come in. We're relics because we care about the culture. It's a reason why I want 12 pairs of Jordan Cement 3s. I just want them because I want to wear that shoe all the time.
Right. Shout outs to the folks at Sample Size. That's the Twitter Spaces room that talks sneakers. Kari and Jaleesa and those folks, they do a dope job. And they brought up something that I thought was really interesting. It goes to your point. They were talking about this Kanye documentary that's coming out on Netflix, right? And they were comparing it to The Last Dance, and they were saying like, because Last Dance came out, all of a sudden Jordan 1s, 4s, all these sneakers just started going out, all the roof. And they talk about all the unique circumstances as to why they happened, pandemic, Jordan, this, and another. They were wondering if the Yeezy documentary will have the same effect. And some people disagreed and said it wouldn't, but a lot of people within the room were saying yes, because of the little hype beast, basically the younger white kid, and someone said it explicitly. The guys and girls is into Yeezy, not Kanye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeezy, right? And that's a specific thing. And they want to be that person, and they buy the big boots that Yeezy wears now, and this, that, another. That's not necessarily a street thing like you're talking about, right? And so that's why I sadly agree with you. And that it's not good for me for sneaker culture to be quote unquote dying, because I have a business around it, and it's something I love. So my natural next question to you would be, if it's dying, can it be resurrected?
Absolutely. And it's never going to fully die. Mm-hmm. But what I mean is, it has to go back to the point where corporate America is making so much money off of it now that they've diluted our culture. Because whenever something gets overly exposed, what happens? It damages it. We're at the point where sneakers are so overly exposed. It's a kid telling me about a shoe, and I'm like, I can tell you when it came out. I can tell you I was walking in the snow to go get it. It's things you'll never understand about this shoe. I remember those moments. You remember buying a bot and getting it, and not even wanting the shoe and selling it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean about it's not, it's like, it's the equivalent of like Supreme. Everyone, I remember when no one went to Supreme. Only skaters went to Supreme.
Yeah.
It's another thing of when culture, it gets overexposed. And there's nothing wrong with a company basically saying, I've reached a point where I can get to my apex and make a lot of money. But when you get to that point, it dilutes the brand, unfortunately.
Right.
But people who it hasn't happened to, Rihanna's brand is the same. Rihanna could drop something tomorrow, it's going to sell out.
Yeah.
But we bought into Rihanna. And what I mean by that is, Rihanna is the total opposite of Beyonce, but people love the fact that she can do stuff that you may not agree with, but I do it anyway. We're not going to see that from Beyonce. You know this, and I know it. Her image, that's not what she does. Rihanna's image is, fuck it, excuse my language. I'm going to show you who I am. You might not like it. You might think about when she announced she was having a baby. That picture went viral everywhere.
Yes, it did.
Because women can relate to Rihanna more now because it's believable. Rihanna could be your neighbor next door, your cousin, aunt. You know what I mean? Rihanna is relatable. And that's why it works. Kanye, everyone now wants to be in a creative space. Everyone now is getting their ideas out. Kanye is a genius, whether you like him, love him, hate him, whatever it is. He's a genius. He should be honored. I think no matter if you like him or not. And the reason why we can speculate and scrutinize his life, because it's on display for us to do that. If we didn't have social media, we would never know all these intricacies of Kanye West.
Yes.
And I think that's where I think that's another issue of it's a gift and a curse, because it's helping his brand. But in some cases, I think it's like we fought him for being honest, but at the same time, he always has a reason for what he's doing. Even if you don't like it, it's a reason. And I tell people all the time, sometimes you got to dance with the devil in order to get results. He's danced with the devil multiple times, but he told you why in long term, why he was doing it. Some people agreed, some people didn't. But I also understand when you're dealing with brands, companies look at how, okay, perfect example. You own a t-shirt company. Let's say you had Adam t-shirts.
Right.
You know, it's a kid in Omaha who burns t-shirts, let's just say, but he's getting 3 million views every time he burns a t-shirt. You think that your company, somebody from your company and marketing will say, let's send him 3 t-shirts to burn. You know why? Because in turn, he's going to burn your t-shirt and we're going to pay him to do so. So he's going to tag your brand. He's going to do this. And it doesn't even make sense to you because you're saying, I make t-shirts to wear, not to burn. But this kid is going viral for doing this. And that's how crazy social media is. It's like, sometimes it's like the people that are doing it, and the most purest of forms never get seen because they're not giving you any shock value. Like I tell people now, everyone's chasing moments.
Right.
Everything because of social media. People don't care about your progression to how you do things. LeBron James is having an excellent season. All we talk about is the Lakers are losing. Do we not realize he's in his 19th year and he's averaging 25, 7, and 5? Right. Do we not realize how old he is and what he's doing?
Right.
He's having an MVP season. But the only thing we can say is the Lakers are losing because people chase moments. Even last night, I watched the game. He had a great game. They got blown out, but he had a great game. Yeah. It doesn't matter because people chase moments. We don't even have the same type of fans, how we grew up loving a team or loving this or loving a shoe. It's like everything is a moment. If Kanye wears an Air Max 95 tomorrow, that shoe will be the most sought after shoe.
Yeah.
For the next whatever time. If he starts wearing the Red Wing boot he's wearing is sold out now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You understand? It's like, it's crazy.
No, it's absolutely crazy. And there's a lot there because it speaks to who's pushing the culture right now, right? Streetwear, hip hop, sneaker culture, all are cousins and very close cousins. In fact, they're brothers and sisters, right? And so it speaks to who's pushing it and whether or not they're pushing it to the right direction, right? Like you speak of Rihanna. I like what Rihanna's doing because it reflects what I think hip hop and sneaker culture has always been about, which is not giving a right and doing things.
It's authentic. It's authentic, right. And that's why it works.
Right. Now, Kanye lies somewhere in the middle to me, but I think Kanye is a well thought out person, even though a lot of stuff he does is erratic. So I realize I'm contradicting myself, but I hope that makes sense to people that know about Kanye, right? Like he knows when he wants to put something out, but then also what comes along with his marketing plan and his marketing push is a bunch of erratic moments. My kids, my this, I'm crazy. And these type of things, right? That pushes people to want to be more like him and do things the way he wants to, the way he would do it. If I'm starting a brand or if I have an album coming out or if I'm starting a label or whatever, I'm going to try to mimic, especially folks that aren't directly from the culture, right? I mean that from the cultural standpoint and from the racial standpoint. They may look at that and go, yo, I'm going to do it like Yeezy. And now you kind of pushing things away from where I personally think it should be. When we talk about stories, we start talking about Rich Paul. I think that's a dope story. You may not like the sneaker. You may not like him. I don't know why you wouldn't like Rich Paul, but you know what I'm saying? You may not be all that into a Rich Paul sneaker, but I think it's a dope story. Someone, again, in another one of the sneaker spaces I was in, kind of related it to like Kenya Barris. It's like, yo, I'm on my Kenya Barris swag. Like I'm an older dude, but I'm still fresh. That's what I relate
to us because we are at that transition in our, and you said it best. Rich Paul is from our culture. So we saw him come from this point to what him and LeBron and Maverick and all of those guys started to where he is now. So we're going to champion that shoe. His shoes now we probably would wear that we wouldn't have worn 20 years ago as we've matured and got older. But one thing for certain, all the shoes we love from the past are coming back out and we're all like, wow, because that's how they get us. Because we're looking at our past and we're like, wow, that brings back a memory. These kids don't know why they love it. It's with the Jordan fad. They don't know why. Most kids haven't seen Michael Jordan ever play.
Right.
So they don't know what it means, but they may remember a lot of Jordan sell now because of Kanye. To be honest, I know Kanye people that take pictures from Kanye and say, well, Kanye wore the Jordan 3s or he had the 4s on, or you know what I mean? Like, so what you said is so on point because our culture is getting saturated by I don't want to say the wrong people because everyone has a choice, but I feel like we all have to focus on our authentic story. And I tell people, no matter how people may not like my story, it will be pure to me and I will give you the purest form of me to the world. People don't do that anymore. Everyone's focused on someone else's story and how can I relate that to my story to sell something because everyone is chasing a moment. No one is evolving anymore. I said that the other day. Like you have a show, I watch where your show went to where it is now. No one, people love it because they're catching the moments. No one knows all the work you put in. You know, that's what I champion. Like, they don't know all the things you had to do to get to that point because they don't care. Everyone's chasing a moment because if that moment is popular, it goes viral. Think about it. You didn't have to repost Rihanna. Everyone saw it, but how many people reposted Rihanna and ASAP? Because it felt like a moment. You knew your page would get contact. Now, if you're smart, you can relate that back to your own business and then come back, follow it up with something else. You got to know how the analytics and algorithms work. But see, that's a whole nother conversation. But that's what companies play us for. We don't understand that.
Yeah, because one last thing I want to touch on before we wrap this up is that thing about moments, right? And to take it, you know, and anyone who listens to this show, they know I like to have, you know, I almost wax poetic at the end of this show, right? I always try to leave people with like a positive message that I got from the guest that I may have had on, and I'm going to go ahead and tease what I'm going to talk about at the end of this one, because it is about those moments, right? And when you think about hip hop, when you think about sports, when you think about sneaker culture, right, streetwear culture, it is directly related, excuse me, to moments. It's directly related to that. You mentioned that, and I had Shake on, right, a few weeks ago, and he talked about how excuse me, brother. He talked about how, you know, at least Yeezy's making new stuff, right? But to me, it's a little deeper than that too. I went to Tim Duncan phones because I remember the moment I saw them. I remember wearing the one silver one and the one black one to Colors Day in high school because our colors were black and silver, and it was the perfect situation. I remember never having anyone spend that much money on me ever on a sneaker, and my aunt did that and bought me 2 pair, right? So you do the math, you know how much that was. By the way, that's just the price of one resale sneaker these days. But you know what I mean? The moments you talk about, these Deons I got in my closet because I remember wearing them in middle school, all these moments, right? Music moments. Music is like a time machine, right? You think about moments. If we're going to bring the culture back, that's what we have to get to. It can't just be, oh, they re-releasing this, because that only feeds us, and that only feeds people that think, oh, I could get my hands on these and sell these. We have to be able, and so I think that I'm big on all heat ain't hype. That's my slogan. I'm big on walking into a Foot Locker and seeing a sneaker that just catches your eye. It could be the most boring, it could be the most unpopular silhouette you could find, but if it pops to you and you like it and you got the money to do it, buy it, because you're going to create a moment with that sneaker. And then that's how we get back to what we think this thing is.
From that.
Because I come from
the era of where we want to touch it. It's the same with albums. I love being able to download it at midnight, but I need to read the album credits. To me, it's no better feeling popping open. They're going to say you old, but it's no better feeling than reading the credits and understanding what I'm going through.
Hey, look at what I got back there. Look what I got back there. The light. Good Kid, Mad City on a vinyl player. Okay.
That digital.
Yep.
It will never do that for me. But if you didn't come from that, you won't understand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just won't get it. And so for us, they're going to say we're old. They're going to say we're this because they don't understand it, because it's a cult. It's our culture. Really, we grew up directly. It affected us. This is ours. It's even people that's 45, 50 years old that can claim it. It's ours. Now the game is, it's the same as with an NFT. We're buying into a hope that something goes the way we want, but we're really buying in the hype. Because I say this all the time. If another country comes and shuts down all our power, how would me having a digital NFT help me survive in life? You know?
Look, I got some partners that would tell you why, but I get what you're saying.
No, and I get it, but think about it. If we have no power, meaning we can't use Wi-Fi, we don't have anything. The person that has 20,000 in their house will be the richest person in the world, because they can barter and they can trade. I can't trade something I can't access from a blockchain if I can't, you know what I mean? But I also understand technology, and I will evolve with it because I'm okay with that. But you and I both know when you're looking at life a certain way, but to a kid that's 17 years old, they'll run it down like, this is why, because if this happens, this happens, this happens. We came from a different demographic, a
Mm-hmm.
different time, a
Mm-hmm.
different everything. Like even payphones, all these different things to me were
Yeah.
nostalgic. Like it's certain things that we'll never understand. People can't even communicate the same because they text all day.
So what it is, dog, is trust. Because like you said, you mentioned NFTs, and I think that's a great
Mhm.
way, like it's a trust. Like I believe that this will happen. I am projecting that this will happen, right? All we can do is be great ambassadors to the culture. We've been there, we've done that. We're not done, but we've been there and we've done a lot. You mentioned me in 17. That's a great point. 17-year-old ain't had their moments yet.
Mhm.
Some of the moments I mentioned, yeah, were from middle school, high school, but also had moments in college, also had moments
Mhm.
in my 30s, and moments the other day. You know what I mean? Where I got
Think
married
about the
and
moments you had
mm-hmm.
that you couldn't take a picture of, that you
No
only have the memory.
facts. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
So for us, we accepting that the world has changed, right? Like again, I talked to Mike Sykes. We talked about how back in the day it used to be NBAers. Now we talking about how, not even just celebrities, but tastemakers and people that are just heavily involved in the culture are getting their opportunity to create moments.
You're gonna get one. I see it happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get a collab.
Hey,
I'm telling you. No, I'm
I hope
claiming it.
so.
I'm claiming it for you. Because the reason why, what I'm telling people is now everyone has a target demographic, and I understand demographics very well.
Mm-hmm.
And you are reaching the culture at a point where other people, we're talking about things as well as moving the culture forward.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. I look forward to having you back on again because you're a dope conversation, man. And I appreciate those kind words you gave me, man. When I do get my signature shoe, you gonna be the first person to get a pair.
No, oh, it's happening, man. I
Yeah,
claim it. You speak that positivity and something, and what you're doing for me, that's a shoe I would want. You know what I mean? Like DJ Clark Kent had a shoe.
yeah,
Why? It makes sense. If you don't know his story, you
yeah,
wouldn't understand why he had a shoe, but it makes sense.
yeah.
From what you're doing and me knowing your story,
Mhm.
you're building the story for it to make sense. Nike need to get up with you because I don't see you doing it with no other brand.
Hey, I'm about
But
to say I
Nike
might
for
do it with
you.
New Balance though, but
Yeah,
Nike
New
is the
Balance,
move.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it would be a tight Nike for you.
let's
But
do
nah,
it.
man,
Yeah,
congratulations. Whatever you need from me, I'm always here, man. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
appreciate you, bro. Big shout outs to Chuck. Big shout outs to you for tuning in. As always, you guys are amazing. It's always a pleasure to do this show for you all, man. Remember to follow the team, the OMF Network, at OMF Network on all platforms. Remember to check out the podcast version of this show on Fox Sports, iHeart, all podcast platforms. You can check it out. And shouts out to the Up on Game Network for helping me out with that. Remember to mind your mental health. Remember to take care of your physical health. By the way, I've been doing a health challenge with the neighborhood, man. It's been dope. Your boy lost a couple of pounds. I'm feeling good, feeling great. I encourage you to do the same thing, okay? Take care of your physical health. Take care of your mental health. Mind that mental health. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, please continue to be great. I'm up out of here.